Right, but what we're going to talk about tonight is, how do we get direction in life? And there are two main key parts to this that I've discovered in my life that actually really helps, right? And it's really looking at limits and setting deadlines. So we're going to address each and every one of those two, and you'll understand by the end of this episode exactly what we mean by this. But effectively, this is going to help you get direction. Maybe you don't really know where you're headed in your career. Maybe you don't really know where you're headed in your relationship. Maybe you've just entered into a new relationship. Maybe you don't know where you're headed with your marriage. What's the next step for you guys? Because you guys might have already had the kids and already bought the house and already bought the 2 cars, and maybe you're already planning your anniversary or something like that, right? But what is the next step for you? Maybe what is the next step for you in your own personal self-growth journey? We're going to really deep dive into these 2 aspects of it and see how limits and deadlines could actually lead to direction.
100%. I think it speaks for itself. I've actually had 1 or 2 friends that it's not just that they grew up rich, they grew up in an environment where everything was always done for them. Everything just fell in place. The systems and mechanisms and people and caretakers and everything was just sorted for them around them. And they really didn't pick up to the real world, if I can say it like that, very easily. They didn't fare very well in their first positions. In fact, most of them got fired within a week or so because they would backchat. They would not understand cause and consequence. They would not understand that you can't just, be your normal self in an environment where you have to be subordinate to other people because they're not used to that. They're not used to being told what to do and things like that. So they are diehard procrastinators, and it is very, very difficult to break that trend. The parents eventually figure out their mistake, right? That they kind of gave this person way too much freedom, way too much safety nets, way too little responsibility in life. And they then get super frustrated with this procrastinating person, probably still living in their house until 35 or 40 years old, and they don't know what to do at that point.
What happens when you meet someone and you start talking and you become friendly and you're like, okay, I'm really actually interested in this person. They're interested in me. At what point do we have to define the relationship to say, listen, at the moment, we're just operating without parameters, without scope, without limits, right? We're really just friends. So you can talk to whoever you want to talk to. I can talk to whoever I want to talk to. And, we can each just go and do whatever we want to. But at one point, i.e. you asking that person out, or you defining that relationship saying you are now my girlfriend or I am now your boyfriend, right? That creates limits. And all of a sudden you have some form of direction already. I'm not saying you have full direction, but already you have some limits to say that within this relationship, I don't want you going and hanging out with other girls, late at night without me knowing anything about that. You set certain parameters and certain scope to that relationship. Don't you find that that's also extremely important in personal relationships or romantic relationships to set those limits in order to get some form of direction?
100%. I think if there's no limits, at least if both parties aren't aware of one another's limits, you are always going to tread on the side of offending someone potentially, or hurting them, or breaking their heart, or whatever the case might be, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing comes with deadlines. If you look at deadlines within relationships, every relationship also serves deadlines. So if you, for example, meet a girl and your limits are set and you get along within that limit space of this is her, this is me, we get along, we enjoy each other's company. When you start thinking about that relationship long term, don't you start setting deadlines without even necessarily realizing it, right? You're going to say,
absolutely. I was just going to say,
within a year, I would like for her to move in. And then once she's moved in, within 3 years, I want to put a ring on that finger if things are still going great. And then maybe 2 years, we'll set a date for the wedding, or we'll actually get wed. And then another 3 years, we'll get a baby. You start actually going through like a relationship deadline, and parallel to that you'll have your professional deadlines as well that needs to tie up with your relationship deadlines. She needs to, or you or he needs to respect the deadlines of the others. So if I want to get you married in 5 years, for example, it means that I would like to ideally be in a financial position within 5 years, and I'm going to need your support and your backing, because I might need to put in late nights, I might need to put in extra hours to get to that point. So it's very important for a relationship and two people being party to a relationship to understand one another's limits and deadlines and goals that they've got set for the relationship going forward.
If you've derived some great value from our show thus far, please take a second to rate and review us on the platform that you're tuned in on. This will really help us to grow the show and reach more and more people, to spread the positivity and change more and more lives. So it will literally just take you a second to rate and review us, and who knows, perhaps you could directly be responsible for changing someone's life today. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Until then, cheers.